Okay, for our topic for today, financial risks. Napapanahon tong topic na to, no, as we face the pandemic of COVID-19. Okay? Now, to understand financial risks, okay, let's look at financial risks. When would there be a financial risk? Now, if you can see, there are three words here. Say leverage, cash flow, and interest. Now, when we talk about financial, okay, we're talking about borrowing money. Okay, borrowing money. Almost every business borrows money for whatever reason, whether for long-term expansion or short-term needs of the company. Now, kailan tayo nagkakaroon ng financial risk? Financial risks happen in this time like there's pandemic. Okay. Everywhere, let's try to explain. No? When we talk about leverage, if we talk about, we say, the company is highly leveraged. Ibig sabihin nun, malaki ang utang. So, ibig sabihin, their operation is being sustained by liabilities. Okay, yun yung leverage. There is financial risk if you have borrowed money and there is a possibility that you won't be able to pay the principal and the interest. Okay? Siyempre, kung yung principal nga, hindi mo mabayaran, how much more for the interest. Kaya there is also interest here. Okay? The interest is the possible income of the lending institution. On the part of the business entity, that would be his or her expense. Okay? Now, it is also related to cash flow. Okay? When there is, if a company is having trouble financially, the company's operation is highly leveraged and they cannot pay out interest and the principal, then therefore we can also assume, it is safe to assume that the company is also having trouble with their cash flow. Okay? That's why there is financial risk. Now, every business is exposed to financial risk, especially to these kinds of scenario. No one could have really estimated or forecasted the effect of this COVID-19. Okay, and if I do not know if you have been watching some series, no, but in times like this, what they say is that cash is king. When we talk about cash is king, ibig sabihin, makikita mo halos lahat ng transaction, okay, for this following months or years. Okay, for these following months and years, usually highly cash transactions. No problem with Jollibee and others, di ba, yung mga food. Kasi wala ka naman siguro nakitang pumili sa Jollibee, may dala-dalang cheque, no? Okay, that 15 days to pay. Okay, no problem for those company who receives cash on their operations. However, companies or big companies, some of them, they are highly leveraged. Their cash flow is not assured right now, and if the company is leveraged, they are paying up interest. Okay. However, let's compare this financial risk with business risk. Okay. Let's differentiate so that we can differentiate business risk from financial risk. Okay? Medyo synonymous siya, pero however, there is a distinct factor. Okay? When we talk about business risk, this is revenue generation or profitability. It has something to do with revenue generation and profitability. Now, if we are going to look at the airlines industry today, what could be the problem? Is it business risk or financial risk or both? Actually, it's both. If yung mga airplanes nila inutang so that magkaroon sila ng airplane to operate, then they're exposed to financial risk. But generally today, airline industry is exposed to revenue generation or the lack of revenue generation, business risk. If kung makikita nyo, no, airline industry from March 15 up to May 15, I think, wala talaga silang wala talaga silang operation. However, nung medyo na-lift na yung quarantine, okay, nag-MECQ or general quarantine, no? I think they would be allowed limited international flights. However, summing up, those period from March 15 up to May, wala silang revenue. Okay? Ang revenue lang nila siguro possibly dun sa cargo. Okay? Pero yung pinaka-meat ng operation nila, they won't be able to generate revenue from that. It's because the government imposed lockdown, not only in the Philippines, but as well as on other countries. Okay? Now, ang involved na financial ratio dito, no, if you can see in your screen, it is debt-equity ratio, wherein the total liability is compared with the shareholders' equity. Now, makikita natin dito, no, if a company is highly leveraged, ano kaya makikita mo dun sa ratio? If the debt or the total liability is higher than the equity itself, pwede nating masabi na the company is highly leveraged. For example, the capitalization of the company is 1 million. Pero ang utang nila is 5 million. So, ibig sabihin, ang magiging debt to equity ratio nila is 5 divided by 1 is equals to 5. 5 times. 5 times of the equity yung utang nila. So, as an accountant, what would be your say on it? Okay? Number 1, syempre, the normal observation, highly leveraged. Now, if highly leveraged, what would be the possible drawback, okay, or the possible consequences of having an entity being highly leveraged? Yun yung question na may tatanong mo. Kasi for some, I think in some countries, they have a standard debt-equity ratio that your company shouldn't be leveraged, I think, more than double. Okay? So I think, kunyari, 1 million yung capitalization mo, you can only incur up to a maximum of 2 million liability. I think, for some countries, they have those standards. However, in the Philippines, I think depende sa approval ng SEC. Okay? But going back to the topic, highly leveraged company, of course, is kinda scary. Okay? Or it is highly probable na there's something going on. Okay? Kasi, number 1, why would the company borrow money? Is it possible that the capitalization is already exhausted on their operation, that they needed to borrow money? And if they borrow money, there's a question if, are they capable of paying back what they have borrowed? Okay? Kaya nga, if you are going to look at financial institutions dealing with money, their business is lending money, okay? I think BSP, meron silang parang minimum capital requirement apart from dun sa gagamitin nila on operation. Minimum capital requirement na yon, parang seed money lang siya that they cannot touch it. It stays with the BSP, let's say 500 million pesos, it's just seed money. Nandun lang siya sa BSP, naka-deposit. They cannot touch it. It is allocated in case that the company becomes bankrupt. Okay? So kung mabankrupt yung company, then there is a 500 million. accessible to those who lend money or kung sino man yung pinagkakautangan ng entity na nakita. Okay? So very important, debt equity ratio. It's very simple, total liability divided by shareholders' equity. Total liability, you also include the current liabilities. Okay? Current liabilities plus long-term liabilities.